I have an important message for humanity that was relayed to me by Archangel Michael. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I work together with an interdimensional, interuniversal, and extraterrestrial force known as Telstar, along with Archangel Michael. Now, a few days ago, I sat down with Archangel Michael because he wanted to give me a message that he asked me to relay to you. Now, I've been channeling Archangel Michael and Telstar for many, many years. I can see them very clearly. We can have conversations back and forth. So this was one of those times where he and I sat down together and he relayed to me the following messages that I'm going to share with you today. So, getting right to the point, he wanted me to talk to you about the source of fear. Now, the source of fear is not an entity and it's not a person. The source of fear is actually a phenomenon produced by an experiment that was tried in this universe long ago before time even existed. I know that sounds funny, long ago before, but from a place where we did not perceive time the way we do today. Now, this experiment completely inverted the physics of this entire universe and turned it into a mathematical construct instead of its original design, which was one of infinite creation. So Archangel Michael said that ascension is essentially the process of correctingness throughout the entire universe. This is the sole purpose of evolution in this universe, and it will continue to be so until the problem is corrected and the universe's original design is completely restored. Now, the source of fear is an invisible phenomenon that has no size of any kind. Now, we as Telstar, we sometimes refer to it as the absence. It basically exists as the absence of love and the absence of light. And ultimately, it is the absence of the truth of omnipresent love. Now, what this phenomenon has done on a human level is to completely reverse the flow of our energy and of our consciousness. It's the actual reason that we are so vulnerable to being influenced by outside forces. And it's the sole reason why we are in the situation that we are in today. Even though this situation has been many, many thousands of years in the making, it can all be traced back to the existence of this singular phenomenon. So let me talk to you a little bit about our original design as human beings and how the source of fear reversed that. Our original design, which was in keeping with the original design of the entire universe, was to have all of our power, our strength, and our intelligence emerge from our hearts. And thus, everything we were designed to do as humans was informed by love. In fact, the entire universe was informed by love. There was no division and there was no separation. Everything existed as one empowered, harmonious whole. Everything that existed was an absolutely beautiful manifestation of love. There was no death, there was no fear, and there was no anger. There was only the ongoing magnificence of an ever unfolding creation. Now, the phenomenon that we call the source of fear changed all of that. It introduced the first law of mathematics, which was division. And it was all caused by a single lie called, I am not. And as a result of that first original lie, we now have a universe that is finite in nature. We have separation, division, duality, and death. We have questions instead of answers. We have confusion instead of clarity, anger instead of love, control instead of freedom, ignorance instead of full conscious awareness, weakness instead of empowerment. We also have disease instead of health. We have death instead of natural, immortal life, violence instead of peace, limitation instead of ever-expanding possibilities. And the list goes on and on. Now, Archangel Michael wants us to know that there is no point in any of these negatives. Contrary to what we've been told, we are not here to learn how to survive in spite of them. We are not here to learn how to overcome them. We are here to evolve beyond this entire problem so the problem goes away and ceases to exist altogether. See, it's only the ego that thinks that this is a grand game of learning. It's not. It's actually a problem that needs to be eliminated. See, the ego wants you to think that this is all there is. These opposing experiences, this duality, this separation and division. The ego wants us to think that this is all there is. And that solving problems and learning to go beyond them is the quintessential game of life. Now, here's what Archangel Michael says about that. He said, if you only knew what you were missing, you would realize that this whole thing is a farce. He said, we only think it's a grand game because we don't know of anything else. But he said, when we evolve beyond it, we're going to see it for what it truly is. It's nothing more than an illusion. Now, this makes complete sense to me because when you are informed by your heart does not agree to all of this struggle and pain and suffering. I mean, I think our hearts are very clear. They've been crystal clear all along. This stuff has to go. Now, here's the cool thing. Archangel Michael says we have been tricked for millennia and that he is here to end it once and for all and for good. But he needs our collective participation. He needs for us to wake up to who we really are so that we can see it for ourselves. Now, he said that our biggest problem is our false identity. See, because our consciousness and our energy is flowing backwards as a result of the source of fear, it flows from the outside toward us instead of the other way around. We have allowed the outside world to define us, which is how we end up with a false identity. He says that however we have been defined by the outer world is false, and it is the reason for all of our struggles. And then he said something interesting. He said, if you doubt this, look at how you're being defined right now. He said, we're being defined as miserable slaves who have no rights whatsoever. He said, we're being treated as worthless entities who deserve nothing. So his question to all of us is this: are you going to continue to tolerate this from within yourselves? He said, the problem is that those who are going along with this definition actually believe themselves to be worthless. And then that unfortunately becomes the bottom line of their consciousness. And then he said something else very interesting. He said, do not merely identify yourselves as slaves who are fighting against your oppressors. He said, that is not sufficient. He said, you need to see who you really are so that you can then see them as the personification of weakness that they really are. Now, Archangel Michael wants us to know that he stands with us 100%. He offers us the strength and courage to take a stand for ourselves. But to take the most powerful stand, we must recognize and accept our worth. He said, we do not deserve to suffer and we do not deserve to die. It is time for us to go home to the original reality that birthed us as creators. He said, there's no more time to wait to evolve out of this situation. And this is really key for us to understand. This false reality that we have been programmed into has only served to birth us as being the false identity of a slave whose job it is to do what they're told. So his sentiment is enough. So Archangel Michael is hereby issuing a clarion call to all human beings on this planet to awaken at the highest possible level. He said there are legions of angels ready and willing to help us. He said the battle of Armageddon is on. But it's not a battle of division and separation. The nature of this battle is different. He said it's not a battle of opposing forces, because that would imply equality in strength. He said the light does not battle the darkness because the darkness is a no thing. Light is always supreme. He said the darkness masquerades as a force, but in truth, it doesn't even exist. He said, ultimately, the real battle is happening within us. It's a battle where the false self wants to stay in control and continue to overcome the real self. And then he wants us to notice something. He wants us to notice that the fruits of allowing the false self to be in control is exactly what we're experiencing right now. So if we can arise from within, if we can shed this false identity and be who we really are, the oppressors will collapse like the whimpering weaklings that they really are when they can no longer steal our power. So this is a very tall order, but we have to find our way there. Archangel Michael is letting us know that we have his strength, but now it is time that we find our strength. You know, in getting this message from Archangel Michael, it just really, for me, it just brings to mind the sense that there are so many voices in the universe right now. There's so much help, and just almost like, I wouldn't say pleading with us, but it kind of feels like that, like, wake up, wake up, wake up. Like, it's not enough to wake up in fear and say, oh no, we're in so much trouble. Look what they're doing to us. Maybe that's just the first stage of waking up, realizing, oh no, we've been lied to all our lives. Oh no, we've just been manipulated. This isn't right. So I think that's like the first stage of waking up. But I think we're being called to wake up at a much higher level, and it's going to take everything we have within us. It's not going to be some effortless little fairy tale where everybody just wakes up automatically. I think we really, each one of us, we have to go very deep because our situation here is serious. And how this unfolds for all of us is going to very much have to do with the effort that we make as individuals within ourselves to take a stand for who we really are. And we can only do that if we trust our hearts, listen to our hearts, and adhere to the wisdom that we hold within ourselves. Now, I've had some people ask me, well, Saratoga, how do we expand our consciousness? Or how do we connect with our hearts? And questions like that. And I want to give you just a couple of tips about that. Your consciousness expands naturally. It's a powerful light of like already being awake in a sense. So it's not like we have to forcibly expand our consciousness or try to make it expand. That's not what we need to do. What we need to do is release the baggage, release the lies, the manipulation, the stuff we believed that was never true. And our hearts told us it was never true. I'll give you a couple of examples. The lie that we're supposed to suffer, the lie that suffering's good for us, the lie that death is for a reason, the lie that duality matters, the lie that we're here to learn through all of this misery. All of these things, if you really focus and pay attention to what your heart says, the heart doesn't go for any of that stuff. See, our hearts want to be free. They want to be free. They want to be unencumbered. They want to, we expand naturally without all of the baggage that we're holding on to. Expanding your consciousness is often really a matter of releasing junk, releasing beliefs, and being true to your heart, because expansion of consciousness really happens naturally. There's nothing to do to expand your consciousness. What there is to do is to release and let go and purge the stuff that is in the way of it, because that stuff acts like an opaque, it's like an opaque thing. It's a finite, opaque system, paradigm of beliefs, whatever you want to call it, that doesn't let your light radiate. It doesn't let your energy radiate and shine. So instead of focusing on expanding your consciousness, I suggest that you focus on letting go of things that are not true, not because I would say it's not true or anyone else would say it's not true, only because your heart says it's not true. It's not actually a very complicated thing that we have to do. It's challenging, to be sure. It's going to take everything we have, that's a certainty, but it's still simple. Let me also talk a little bit about connecting with your heart, because we need that wisdom, we need that connection more than anything else in the world. Here's an interesting way to look at how does one connect with their true heart. One thing you can do is you can go within and contemplate all of the times in your life that you turned against yourself. All of the times in your life when you turned against yourself in favor of someone else's rules, programs, requirements, and demands. Because every time we turn against ourselves, and I'm talking about our sincere, loving selves. I'm not talking about our egos and our false self. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your deep innermost self. You know, that self you were probably a lot more in touch with as a child. But every time we turn against ourselves, we close down our hearts. Because that's the only way you can turn against yourself. You have to close down your heart, right? So you could actually consider times in your life when you have turned against yourself and revisit that decision and say, you know what? Maybe I'm going to stop doing that now. Maybe I'm going to open up to me. You know, we talk so much about opening up to things out here. Well, how about opening up to ourselves? I mean, that is a miraculous thing to do. Open up to the miracle that is you, the miracle that is your life, the miracle that is your consciousness. Having an expanded consciousness, being connected to the heart, those things are our natural state. That's not something we need to acquire. We're born that way. We exist that way in the universe. It is who we are. So those things are not a problem. They're never going to be a problem. They can't be a problem. It's impossible for those things to be a problem. The problem is all the junk that we've taken on, all the beliefs, all the requirements, the demands, the projections, all of that junk that suppresses the heart, causes us to turn against our hearts, and becomes a block to our expanded consciousness. Those are the problems. So it can be as simple as understanding you need to just let go of that stuff, turn back within, accept yourself, open up to your own heart. It's really just that simple. It's not just, oh, I have to connect with my heart. I don't know where it is. I don't know what to do. It's more like open up to your heart, open up to yourself. You know, that private, quiet self that is just you, the you that, here's a way to look at it. It's the you that is your own best friend. That's the you that you want to connect with. So it is kind of interesting that Archangel Michael said the real battle is fought within us. And that's why, because we have to come to terms with what we have believed that has been harmful to us. Like, how many things have you believed that have actually been harmful to you to believe those things, have actually hurt you to believe those things? I mean, you know, it's crazy how simple it really is. So in spite of all the weird circumstances that we're in, what we can actually do is consider this life to be a sacred undertaking of evolution, to be something so personal, so deep, and so sacred that we are undertaking within ourselves and intending to evolve out of this whole mess. But we can only evolve out of it when we are true to who we really are and to the truth of our inner being, and ultimately true to the wisdom that is constantly broadcasting from our deepest, innermost hearts. Now, before I go, I want to let you know that I'm getting very close to releasing my new online course, Ascension Power, Trust the Light Within. This is so powerful. I've been working on this course for like 8 months. I mean, I have put so much into this and it's so amazing. I'm really so happy. I'm thrilled with how it's turned out. Truthfully, I am. So this course has everything you could possibly need to know about ascension, including the final elimination of the source of fear. There's so much in this, and I have a wait list that I've had up for a while. Some of you are probably on it, for people who want to get early access. And I'm probably going to release it in, I'm thinking, a couple of weeks now. It's really, really close. It might even be less than that. So the time to get on the wait list is really short. Now, why do you want to get on the wait list? Well, because if this interests you, I'm giving a special big discount to the people on my wait list that the public's not going to get. So if you think you might be interested in this, I want to encourage you to get on the wait list now before it's too late. And I'll put a link in the description below so you can do that. and then you will have first access and you will be eligible to get that limited time special discount. And I am so incredibly excited to release this. I'm so excited. I cannot wait for you all to have access to this. So, with all that said, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you think would benefit from Archangel Michael's message. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I am here every Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you so much love, light, and high vibrational energy, and I so look forward to seeing you in the next video. Namaste.